4 years ago, my evil stepsister framed me, got me written out of the will, and even convinced my dad to disown me, but last month her karma hit her back. I, 32F, never thought I'd be sitting here, watching my stepsister's 35F life unravel before my eyes. 4 years ago, she orchestrated my downfall with a calculated precision that left me reeling. Now, as I witness karma finally catching up to her, I'm filled with a mix of emotions I never expected to feel. It all started when my father remarried when I was 18. My new stepsister seemed nice enough at first, but I soon realized she was a master manipulator. She'd whisper lies to my stepmother, twist my words to my father, and slowly began driving a wedge between us. I tried to maintain peace, to show my family who I really was, but her influence was like a poison spreading through our home. The final blow came 4 years ago. I was 28, building a career I loved, and maintaining a fragile relationship with my family, despite my stepsister's best efforts. That's when she put her master plan into action. It started with small things going missing around the house: jewelry, cash, even my father's prized watch. Items would disappear, only to mysteriously turn up in my room or among my belongings. I denied any involvement, but seeds of doubt had been planted. Then came the coup de grace. My stepsister tearfully confessed to catching me stealing from my father's safe. She produced fake security camera footage, doctored bank statements, and even a forged confession she claimed I'd written in a moment of guilt. It was all lies, of course, but the evidence seemed overwhelming. My protests fell on deaf ears. My father, heartbroken and furious, believed every word. In one devastating meeting, I was cut out of the will, accused of betraying the family, and told I was no longer welcome in their lives. My stepsister watched with crocodile tears as my world crumbled around me. The next few years were the hardest of my life. Disowned and alone, I struggled to rebuild. Friends I thought I could count on distanced themselves, not wanting to get involved in family drama. Job opportunities dried up as rumors spread. There were days I could barely get out of bed, crushed by the weight of injustice and loss. But slowly, painfully, I clawed my way back. I found a therapist who helped me process my grief and anger. I threw myself into work, determined to succeed despite everything. I built a chosen family of friends who saw me for who I truly was. It wasn't easy, and there were plenty of setbacks. But I refused to let my stepsister's actions define me. Last month, out of the blue, I received a call from an old family friend. "You need to know what's happening," she said, her voice urgent. "It's all coming out." Over the next few hours, I learned the truth. My stepsister's carefully constructed house of cards was finally collapsing. It turns out her deceptions went far beyond framing me. She'd been embezzling from my father's company for years, using the money to fund a lavish lifestyle she couldn't actually afford. Her downfall came from an unexpected source: her own husband. Suspicious of her secretive behavior and extravagant spending, he'd hired a private investigator. What the PI uncovered was shocking. Not only had my stepsister been stealing from the family business, but she'd been involved in multiple affairs and was planning to leave her husband taking their kids and a significant chunk of his assets with her. The husband, armed with irrefutable evidence, went straight to my father. As the truth came to light, years of lies began to unravel. Former employees came forward with stories of my stepsister's manipulations. Financial records revealed the extent of her theft. Even the evidence used to frame me was exposed as an elaborate fabrication. My father, shell-shocked and devastated, finally saw the truth. He reached out to me through the family friend, begging for a chance to talk. Part of me wanted to ignore him, to let him stew in the consequences of choosing my stepsister over me. But a larger part needed closure, needed to look him in the eye and hear him admit how wrong he'd been. We met at a neutral location, a quiet cafe where we'd once shared happier times. The man before me looked older than his years, weighed down by guilt and regret. "I'm so sorry," he began, his voice cracking. "I should have believed you. I should have seen through her lies." I listened as he poured out the whole sordid tale, how my stepsister had manipulated everyone around her for years, how she'd played on his insecurities and used his love against him, how he'd been blind to her true nature until it was too late. "I know I have no right to ask for your forgiveness," he said, tears in his eyes. "But I hope that someday we might be able to rebuild some kind of relationship. I've missed you so much. I'd imagined this moment so many times over the years. In my darkest days, I'd fantasized about telling him off, about making him feel as small and worthless as I had when he cast me aside. But sitting there, faced with his genuine remorse, I felt something unexpected, a glimmer of hope. It's going to take time, I told him honestly. A lot of time, and things will never be the same, but I'm willing to try. The relief on his face was palpable. We talked for hours, beginning the long, difficult process of healing years of hurt. It wasn't a magical fix. There was too much pain for that, but it was a start. As for my stepsister, her carefully constructed world came crashing down around her. The company pressed charges for embezzlement. Her husband filed for divorce, fighting for full custody of their children. Former friends and associates distanced themselves, not wanting to be tainted by association. I won't lie, part of me felt a grim satisfaction watching her reap what she'd sown. The scared, hurt part of me that had suffered for years wanted her to feel every bit of pain she'd inflicted on others. But mostly, I felt a profound sadness. Sad for the years lost, for the family torn apart by her lies, for the person she could have been if she'd chosen a different path. My father, determined to make amends, not only reinstated me in the will, but offered me a position in the family business. It was tempting, a chance to reclaim what I'd lost. But I realized I'd built something valuable on my own, something that was uniquely mine. I politely declined the job, but agreed to occasional family dinners as we worked on rebuilding our relationship. My stepsister, facing jail time and the loss of everything she'd schemed for, reached out to me. Her message was a strange mix of apology and blame, as if she still couldn't fully admit the extent of her actions. I chose not to respond. Perhaps someday I'd be ready to hear her out, but for now, maintaining that distance felt like an act of self-preservation. As the dust settles, I find myself reflecting on the past 4 years. They were incredibly painful, yes, but they also shaped me into a stronger, more resilient person. I learned who I could truly count on, discovered reserves of strength I never knew I had, and built a life I'm genuinely proud of. I won't pretend the hurt has magically disappeared. There are still days when the injustice of it all hits me hard, but I'm no longer defined by what was done to me. Instead, I'm focused on the future I'm creating for myself. To anyone out there facing similar betrayals or injustices, know this: your worth isn't determined by other people's lies. Stay true to yourself, surround yourself with those who believe in you, and keep pushing forward. The truth has a way of coming out, even if it takes longer than we'd like. Karma, it turns out, isn't always about revenge. Sometimes it's about setting things right, about clearing the way for healing and new beginnings. As I cautiously rebuild bridges with my father and navigate this new chapter, I'm choosing to focus on gratitude. Gratitude for the lessons learned, for the strength gained, and for the chance to write my own story, one of resilience, forgiveness, and hope. The road ahead won't be easy. Trust, once shattered, takes time to rebuild. But I'm facing the future with open eyes and an open heart, ready for whatever comes next. After all, I've survived the worst my stepsister could throw at me. Whatever challenges lie ahead, I know I have the strength to face them head on.